What we did is we printed out the templates and we did the scroll sawing technique where we taped it and then we used the spray adhesive and laid it out on there. These things are 37 inches long. And of course we've got the extra here because the extra is going to become the center supports. It's going to coat it together. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the drill press and we're going to put the bit in and we're going to all right, so now we got those cut down to size. All right. Next, we're going to cut these down to size. Now we're going to mark these off. These are the center, the supports are holding together are 11.5 inches long each side. Okay. See, we're using a 1.5 inch spade bit. See, I don't have a Forstner bit, which would be nice, but right now you use what you got. So I have the spade wood bit that I'm using to. Now the thing with the spade bit is you have a tendency to create blowout if you go all the way straight through. So what we're going to do is we're going to go away a little bit of ways through, and then we're going to flip we went down a little ways, just enough to where it pops to the back. All right. Then we take it and we recenter it back up. Okay. And we continue through all the way through. Once we completely go through, once we know we break it, right? There it is. Once we break that through, and we now have, I'll show you, have a clean hole on each side without no blowout or tear, which is a good thing. All right. So that's a little trick for y'all that are using a spade wood bit. Yes, I burned it, but standing up. Roughly, we're going down maybe 1/4 inch, and then once you go to that 1/4 inch, you now have your hole in the back that you can flip it over and center it back up and continue the rest of the way through. All right. So. Doing good. Got the first 10 cut out, but we had a minor mishap. Okay, is that let the blade up too fast and it walled around too quick, so I got to do it extra sanding on that one. But so for those of you that are still with me, all right, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So now we've got the next 10 sunk in. Now we're flipping it over to finish them out. So here's what I forgot. I forgot my RZ mask. Yeah. So let's put on our RZ mask, why don't we? Yeah. Safety, right? Let's do that. We have those 10 cut out. So we all have all 20 of them cut out. So now we're on to the next step. And you know what is cool? I just noticed that I found out that whenever I did the first one, but I never really paid attention. I just tossed them aside, which I'm going to dig them out now. I now have poplar washers. Huh. Looks like I'm gonna have to make some nuts and bolts, ain't I? Now we're on to the next step. Okay. What we're doing is we're putting in a little sander into the drill press, and we're gonna sand all these out. Why am I doing that? Instead of cutting first, so I get a nice clean smooth sand all the way around, and not messing up the ends on this whenever I do make that cut. And you'll see here after a while. So I'm gonna be here sanding all 20 of those holes. Thanks again for sticking around. Set my depth right above the table, just a little bit, and then I take my gauge to do the stop and set it to where I want it, turn it, and then I proceed to do is I release that, and it now comes up, and I can go on to the next one, reset it. This way I ain't got to hold it in place every single time. See, when you go there, you got a nice clean all the way around. So whenever, if I was to cut this out, then it would end up this way. I've got a nice clean sand all the way around, and then whenever I cut these out, it looks nice and smooth, and then I can just go in and fine detail sand it after that. So yeah, I think this one's 80 grit. I got this at Harbor Freight, and a little that, and a bigger one, and everything else. And it works. It works for what I need to do, and other things that I'm doing, but especially for this project, it works out nicely, very well. I know some of you are thinking, well, why don't you just do it up here when you're going like this? So just imagine you got all this board this long, right? And you're out here at the end, and that weight out of here is like this. So you want to keep it. I bring it down here, okay, where I've got it at to lock it in place, is that there's a less distance that I have to control it, and I can use. So I don't know if y'all can see, but the table has grooves in it. So what I'm doing is I'm using my hands as my fingers in there, and I'm using it as a guide to keep it flat and level where I'm not making it. Hopefully that helps you out, you know, because like I said, some people are like, well, why don't you just hold it up there? But this is what works for me, and maybe it'll work for you, because you know I've got this long piece, and I want that to be flat in there. I don't want it to be sanded off. So what we're doing is we're now going to cut these out on the scroll saw. All right, all 20 of those slots are going to get cut out on there. So that's the next process for the hat rack. Back onto the hat rack. All right, so what we're doing is we're getting this sanded down to 220. All right, and that's where I'm at now. I'm at 220. What I'm also doing is I'm knocking down the points, because those can be. What we're doing is we're knocking off the points. We're just rounding over the edges, because when you go to put your hat on there, you don't want to slide down and slice your finger. So we're making it for a safety factor as well. So we're getting it down to 220, and then we assemble. If your table saw, or any table you have, doubles up as your table that you're working with, get yourself a set of bench cookies from Rockler, right? And I'm going to show you why. All right, what I do with mine is I set one down here, and I set over there where it holds the top and the side together, right? So it's halfway on both sides, and then this one sits out here so it keeps it balanced, right? So I can now mark where I'm going. My bench cookies are in place, stabilizing my piece for me, and I'm going to mark where I'm going to line up my dials to joint this together. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to get my marks on here. So I take my square, line it up, right? And then next I measure halfway the board, which this is 3/4. So you're going to be 1, 2, 3/8 is halfway mark, right? So we mark the halfway mark, mark it off, and we now know where we're going to drill for here and here. So we measure the same distance as half of our board, and then we use our square, and we go here, we line up the lines that we made earlier. And then we measure, put our square here, right? Now you don't have to necessarily do this because the way this is set up, this is set up, and I'll show you. But I do it just to make sure. It comes with the drill bit with a stopper. Now your stopper, you want it to typically go halfway the distance of your dial, right? So this way we want to go halfway in, one on here, halfway in on the side. Right? Where I said before you don't need to mark those, I just do it as being a safe side, right? They come with these little things. It's got a point on them that you can line it up and whack it, and it marks the spot where I marked it before. You want to make sure this mark goes like this, right, on those marks, so it's on away from it, so it's on that side. You can see right where I marked them. It lined up perfectly on both of them. See? So now that's where it's already set my pilot hole to where I can drill. What I should tell you is make sure whenever what I'm doing with this is how they would be on the wall to hold the hats is how you would want to make sure you lay them, right? So they're both facing opposite and going opposite direction. Sanded all the pencil marks off, right? And we're going to use our Titebond 3 glue, because that's what I have, and we're going to get our dials set in place. Here we go. 2 clamps on each side. Now we take Tyson Moore's little trick and we clean out the excess glue. We have our hat rack assembled. Glue is drying, and then tomorrow we stain.